listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
Let's start with today's topic, then in that case. Okay, so as of now, in outbound integrations also, though we have seen different scenarios like Accessor tree validations. You know all of that. We have learned how to store files, error files, cloud lock. We have covered all of these, but if you remember, for all of these integrations, the source of truth, remember what source of truth is source of truth now. So source of truth is the data source where basically you are getting data. That is source of truth. So in all these integrations, the source of truth was always a custom report. It was always a custom report. Right? It was always a custom report. So I think I did mention it to you, and it was mentioned in the advanced content. Also, I'm going to show you how we can fetch the file from the connector itself, from the connector or EIB. So sometimes there are requirements around that. Okay, for example, you have worked on integrations already. And so I'm going to ask this question to you. Why do you think we would prefer a core connector when we will have all those fields in our report? Why do you think we always prefer core connector worker? So every field I have in core connector worker, I can directly fetch it in my report as well. Still, we prefer to go through the core connector worker. But why is that? I never heard of connector report. But now there is no core connector report. But I can challenge you, right? So you say, okay, we should create a core connector worker for this. But I can replicate the same process through a custom report. So all the fields which are to be outputted through a core connector worker, I can output them through the custom report as well. Isn't it right? So then why? Why to use core connector worker when I can actually get the data from custom report? Why do we use core connector worker? A core connector worker is for the specific use, right? For example, let's say hiring, promotions, demotions. Let's say like email update or IRS tax update. It's a specific template for the core connector worker. No, that's not true. So whatever you mentioned, I can do that on a report also. So the core connector worker, it delivers the exact same functionality, which we can also get from a report. But still we always prefer coordinator worker. The reason being there is something called a change detection. Change detection, right? There is something called a stain detection. So if change detection is your requirement, there is nothing better than core connector worker. Okay, right, that's when we use core connector worker. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a core connector worker, or let me check if I have it already. I think I have it already, but I think Harrison was working fine. We worked on this one, or do you want me to create from scratch? Output by Harris. Seen that tribute. Since it will say just output to the XML, right? There are any output document tags we want to create. Let's see. Okay, there are so many tags. Let's not use it for now version. Is this the latest? Yep, this is the latest up for mine. We need XML including active workers and full file. We are not going for a full file, so country. Okay, work I just type is what we are doing. Work, let's do the desktop for home. Family addresses. Let's mark it true. Phone type private phone numbers. Do not family phone numbers. You write and now I remember. Change only file or the full file. Which one? Which one you want to fetch, right? Yeah. Private email addresses to prior values organization type. We don't want to change. Required field validation. We don't want to do it to connector. No, suppress. No, we want the messages. All right. No, we don't want multiple sites. Okay, so let's try and test this first. This is running or not. So let's go for a full file. So this is gonna take a while. Okay, but let's just check the output and meanwhile this is running. Let's look at Studio, how we can process the file. Okay, so basically what you have to use is you have to use a component called getEventDocuments. You will easily get in the palette, okay? So we copied this component. We have data initialization. We don't want anything else. Let's copy. So before process filer, we will say, let's retrieve the file and you choose. Get event documents. Okay, so this is gonna get event documents for you. This will get all the event documents, but now you have to decide which event documents you want to work for. Okay, so I will say, I will explain you what the is okay, hold on. What are you doing in this message? Info integration has started. Let's remove this. We don't need it. Okay, so by default, if you fetch any file through Studio, okay, it stores it in a variable called day. So the basically stands for Document Accessor Document X. Okay, right? So if we retrieve any file, whether via through the retrieval service, that what we are going to do in inbound integration also. So we are going to see this variable a lot there. So that means Document Accessor. That means this can access the document. Okay, now by default, Workday stores the value in a variable called wbd.retrieve.variable, the content of that file. You remember we discussed this before, also right? So like in loop strategy, we discussed, for example, there is a by default studio variable. Right? That was xxld step.messages, if you remember. Yes, X and the step.messages, which, yeah, SLD step.messages. So this is something by default taken care of by Workday U. We don't declare it. Similarly, vd.retrieve.variable is something we don't declare it. It's by default present in Workday. Okay, yes. So we say whatever name of the output file generated by our core connector worker, we have to give that name here. Okay, that name. Convert or pull the data from that name file into this variable. Okay, makes sense. Yes, that makes sense, right? So if you remember how in our studio messages get passed, they pass to the messages from one component to another. We cannot pass the message content to a variable. Okay, right, so that's where we use the copy step. So copy step is used to either convert the variable into message or message into variable. That's up to your requirement. So here we want to convert the variable into message. Makes sense right here what we did. We got the event documents. And then we converted the output file content into the Workday delivered variable. And from this variable, we converted the mess content into the message form of the Studio required format. Right now, you will see I don't have any kind of retrieval service here, neither do I require it. Retrieval service is required when you are getting the file from an outside location. In getting the file from outside location, alright, so let's see if our connector has worked. Perfect if this is completed. So let's see how our output file looks like. Alright, this is not in a proper format. We don't have that tool here to open it in my. Okay, so this is how our core connector output looks like. Basically, we are seeing data, whatever I have selected in my field attributes. I didn't want to waste your time since we are already, connecting after so long, so I thought we can use the same coordinator. Otherwise, usually I will build a core connector in front of you in this class and then so it would. It would have taken another 25 to 30 minutes. So basically, if we want our studio to run after our core connector worker, what we are supposed to do is we are going to configure it in the BP of core connector worker. Right? So is there a BP already for my integration? Let's check. Can you tell me how can we check that? In it. So we go to the integration page, we go to business process definitions. So this is present here. Okay, we have configured a document delivery here, but basically we don't even need it. So any let's edit business process. Let's remove document delivery. Let's add integration step. Let's see. Okay, now we are on configure the integration. So configure integration now search. Got it. Yes, makes sense. Right, let's see our BP. There is no error. Let's try and run our studio. We have to copy this to paste it here. Change the name, it's so CCBO output. Right, and do we want the second expression? No, we don't want the second expression. Alright, so copy this copy step. Basically, we are getting the input, as I already told you. Alright, after this, We don't want to call the report, do we? You don't want to call the report, right? Because we have got this document. So we are saying instead of report output, but yes, we are going to say CCW output. Right, CCW output. Okay, so again, this is like again customizations there is the endless customization that we can do. Accessibility, definitely we will have to change. This will not work because this will be written for a report. I'm sure you can write the accessibility for Connect Coordinator Worker, right? So let's try and deploy this. Okay, let's try and run our core connector again. See, now it's saying remaining process. Right, we can see our integration step, or we can go to the parent event or the whole process here. Okay, look at the process tab. So this is the step we are awaiting. We can click on the remaining process. This is the remaining process, right? Let's look at the parent event. So these are the child processes, right? This is the remaining process or studio step. So if you want to look at the progress for both the events, we always look at the parent event. I think CCBU got finished. So let's look at okay, our studio got completed successfully. I'm strange there was no error. It was supposed to throw an error on accessibility, but it's alright. So we will look at the output files. We have the error file here. We have the output summary. So this is the CCBU XML, right? So this is what has been outputted by the studio. Let's have a look at it. Let's open it in Intent Explorer. Only so did we get the same output, just like Core Connector Worker. So this means that we were able to successfully retrieve the Core Connector file in Studio Makes sense. Are you sure? Or do you want me to repeat anything? Scroll down a little bit. Scroll down a little bit the same XML. So if you need any changes, any output format, let's say. If we need anything different in the format, for example, say that's only when we will use Studio, right? Yes. So if we want the same output, why would we use Studio after that? No, that's what I'm saying. If you want to make some changes here, let's say like work email, if we have a work email is not available, and then we do a validate, and then instead of work email, and then print the primary email address, whatever the primary address, right? Right? I understand. So that's what you have to take care of in your studio logic. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that the source of truth can be changed from a report to a CCW or a EAB in Workday. So this is just my source of truth. Whatever transformation I have to do in Studio remains intact. Okay, I can change my XLT. I can code whatever the way I want to code it. Right, so I just have to change my XSLT because currently this XLT was supposed to work for report XML. Right, the X path would be different. Everything was gonna be different. Yes. So see if I show you my XLT here. See, I am pulling XSLT. I am pulling data from. What you can say. I am pulling data from core connector worker, and this is the output format I am looking at. So initially I wanted this header, I wanted date, so I am using the date fields here. Then I am using again XLT tree. I am pulling the identification data right. If it's not present, I am putting out the error message just the way we did for report. Only the X paths are going to change, right? See personal name data. This is now X path for CCW. So that's what you have to change in XSLT and your work is done. Yeah. Right. Right. So here in this case, you are going to have to change the XLT to be able to process the CCBO. Yeah. Are you clear? Yes. Let's learn one more thing new today. Okay. We are going to create a sequence generator service. And we are going to use that. Sequence generator service in our studio, how we can do that. Okay, so we go to the start. We create a service called sequence generator service. Right. We go to the start. We create a service out of these so I can remove the report service. I don't even need it. Sequence generator service. Okay, now what is the name I am going to keep? Here. Then we are going to create a sequencer. I have to give some name here, just like the report name I used to use. I am using the same name. Then I am going to use a variable. This to get now. Again, you will get confused. What is lp dot get sequence value? Now, this is a method already defined in Workday Studio. This is how you can get the value of a sequence generator. So we are going to use this variable. I am going to show you how we can use that. Right, so for example, I am using my error file. And I have to use some date and time parameters along with it. This is the error file. Why we are using this one? Integration output. Okay, so instead of this, we are gonna use this title. Okay. Okay. Okay, error file underscore. Right? Underscore sequence generator dot add to mul. Right? So we are gonna create a date and time sequence in Workday, and we are gonna use that in our file name here. So let's search. Integration. It says November. Okay, we don't see the sequence generator as of yet because the service has been created but not yet deployed. Right? We created a service, but this integration is not deployed. So let's deploy. Okay. So now we see this option, right? Were we able to see this option before? Right. Let's create a. See, we see the name here. A sequence or whatever we put in the increment sequence it by 1. Sequence it format, what format do you want to give? So let's give. VV star. You have seen the sequence generator before, right? Yes. So can you give me a? Yes. Last sequence, it V star frequency day every day. V star frequency day every day increase by 1 time. It's okay. We are not using date for today. Sequence it format. So what we are going to use is M. but we want the time as well. That's up to your requirement. I mean, currently, I don't want time. What's for decapitated or small d day in your small d? Underscore. Sick, right. Rest of the name has been taken care of by the studio. Alright, let's try this. Okay. Yeah. Let's wait for this to process. Shorty, do you have any questions? So in code connectors, we do a mapping, right? We do a mapping and we also add some of our what is the term called. I forgot that. Let's say we add some calculated fields in code connectors as well. So is that possible that we can do the same thing what we do in code connectors, the actual code connectors here in Studio as well, right? See, try to understand this. Okay. See whatever you can do in tenant directly. It won't change. When you are trying to do that through Studio, it won't change, okay? So while running the code connector, you can also restrict the results by organization. That doesn't mean that you're getting the output in Studio, so you can't do it. No, nothing like that. So basically, why you are doing Studio is, for example, there is some requirement which cannot be achieved by alone accessibility. Right. Or you need faster processing. You need accessibility 3. That cannot be done by document transformation. So if you have requirements like this, that's when you have to pull the code connector worker file into Studio and then you have to process it from thereafter. At any which way, it doesn't mean that this is going to change how code connector works. Okay. So our CCBU is complete. Our Studio is also complete. Let's see our error file name. Perfect. This started from sequence 0. I run the event again. This is gonna change to 1. Yeah, the date is the 1 of 2021, right? Why? One Happy New Year. Yes, Happy New Year. So let's run it again to see whether the sequence actually is changing to 1 or not, right? Okay, this is complete and the sequence has changed to 1 underscore. 1 right. Yes, I can see it, yeah. This makes perfect sense. Let's see if we have anything in our file. I'm not sure. Let's see. Alright, I think that's it for today. So any questions before I close the session for today? So we see that calling the code connector worker from the tenant to Studio. So basically, here we are calling into the Studio whatever the code connector worker we already built. Let's say, like we did, start from the beginning. Start from the beginning and start from the beginning. Is there any changes we are going to make and only we have to do it in the code connector or in the studio? Or in the studio like integration attributes or override. You showed me a sequence generator right now. And also you showed me the business classes that we modified in the code connector. Whereas we want to make any changes, want to add the business process in the studio, that we can do it as well in studio, within the studio, or just so see. You have to understand what is the field where you want to make the change. If you want to make any changes to the code, connector output, doing anything in the studio won't make any sense. So you have to do it through code connector, right? You have to add the attributes, you have to change the attributes, or you have to add the additional calculated field. Everything in the code, connector worker. But your final file is going to be generated through the Workday Studio. Am I right? Okay, right? Yes. So, if you want to change the name of the file, if you want to change the format of the file, if you want to change the address where you want to deliver that file, that's where you're gonna play with the studio. Because that's the process part which is getting handled by studio. So you have to look at the processing part where you want to make a change. Got it? Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@upptalk.com.